stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no. They won't stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no.
Hello and welcome back to We Are Mighty. I am your host, I guess you call me, LaTanya Cross, aka Mighty's Mama, and I'm happy to be here with you today. I'm sure you noticed a little bit of a change to my set. My aunt, with her amazing talents, made a beautiful diamond painting of my favorite picture of me and my son Miles, and she's been telling me that I needed to put a face to the name. So as you see here, that's me and my baby. That's just a couple of years ago. So now you see Mr. Mighty himself. So he'll be joining us today for our show. How y'all doing? How you been the last couple weeks? Been good? It's been crazy as usual for me. I think that's probably going to be the case for the duration. Who knows? I noticed something that has happened since dealing with the tragedy or having to deal with the grief of losing my son. And it's hard for me to deal with because it's not something I ever really liked having to deal with before. I'm not, or I never was, a very emotional person. I've always been the strong one and, kept cool in situations. But I have noticed since this tragedy, I have very heightened sensitivities. My emotions are crazy. And even when things happen, my mind goes to the worst case scenario before I even know the full story or before I even know what's going on. Or even driving down the street, a car swerves at me and they could have hit me and I could have flipped my car, and it's really crazy. And to be honest, it just pisses me off that I can't even keep my emotions in check like I used to. And I've learned that apparently is a part of the grieving process. Once you've dealt with something so emotional, once you've dealt with something that's made you have to deal with pain and deal with something that you never would have expected, it completely changes your perspective on everything. And I don't like it. I want to just go through life and I'd rather not think about what's the worst thing that could happen right now. What's the worst that could happen to me right now? What's the worst that could happen to, someone that I love? My husband works late. I freak out. I'm calling and texting, are you good? Is everything okay? And he's like, I'm fine. What's going on? And it's hard to explain it to him. But my mind now, it just goes to the absolute worst case scenario. And it makes it very hard to focus on anything else. I had a situation this past Sunday. At our church, we have 2 services, and my husband and I do facilities for the church. So we are at both services. He does like the audio stuff, and I help out, with anything that they need at the first service. And then at our service, I sing. My husband helps with pretty much everything. I'm not going to list it. We do pretty much everything that, is asked of us. And this past Sunday, we were at the first service, and I happened to look at my phone. It was prom night the night before, so I was checking on the younger son. He has his location shared with me, and my older son has his location shared with me as well. And so I always check, make sure they're good. And my older son, his location had pinged in a really weird spot. And it said that the last ping was like 5 hours ago at the time that I was looking at it. And it was like 9:30. So I'm like 4:30 in the morning, and it's pinging in this it was a highway. So the particular stretch of highway where it was showing his location, it's an area that curves a little bit. And there was an incident years ago where a gentleman was riding his motorcycle and didn't navigate the turn correctly, went down into the woods and hit trees, and he passed away. And the crazy thing is, nobody found this guy for weeks. Like, it was on the news that he was missing. And, at that time, I guess it wasn't something where anybody pinged his cell phone or something. So it was a while ago. But this spot is behind where my son lives. And seeing that was the spot where his phone last pinged, and saying that it was 5 hours ago, which made it 4 a.m., I was freaking out. So I tried to call my son. Of course, he doesn't answer the phone. Called him a couple of times, got no answer. I called his girlfriend. She tells me that she hadn't seen him since the night before. He went somewhere with his friend, but she knew that his friend went to Chicago, and so he would have driven home by himself. That didn't help me. So now I'm really freaking out. I call his roommate. His roommate doesn't answer the phone. So I leave church. I just take my husband's truck. I leave church, and I'm having my phone just take me to this location. Every worst possible scenario went through my mind. I literally just thought my son was on the side of the road somewhere, or amongst those trees where they found that guy, and nobody's going to find him if I don't go right now. And my anxiety was through the roof. And I just could not get these horrible thoughts out of my head just because he wouldn't answer his phone. And so I'm trying to drive, and I'm trying to be calm, trying not to speed, of course. And finally, I call him one more time, and he answers the phone. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you're okay. Thank God. Now he's worried. He's thinking something happened to his little brother, because of course he's gone through the same grief. So now he's freaking out, like, what's going on? What happened? Did something happen at prom? And I'm, explaining to him, no, nothing happened. But once I heard his voice, I instantly burst into tears. So I could barely talk. I didn't like that. Now I have my son freaking out, trying to figure out what's wrong with me, because I'm upset that I couldn't figure out what was going on with him. And it was so emotional. I had to pull over to the side of the road. I was almost hyperventilating because I had been so nervous and so worried something happened to him. And when I heard his voice, it was relief, but then all of the flood of emotions just hit me like a flood, I guess, like a ton of bricks. And I've never, experienced anything like that. And I don't like it. I don't like my emotions being all over the place. But what can you do? How do you control something like that? How do you get back in control of something like that? I was always the calm, cool, calm-headed one. Okay, I can't get a hold of him. He's probably asleep. And even when I called his girlfriend, I said, I'm probably overreacting. But of course, she checks her phone and sees the same thing. So now I've got everybody on edge. My husband was worried. And he literally was at home asleep, and his phone was not in his bedroom. So he didn't hear it ringing. Now, we still don't know what happened with the reason that it pinged and the place that it did, but that's not far from his house. So that I worked in the cell phone industry for years. That may just be the last tower it hit, and it just, it was a fluke. Of course, I wasn't thinking that at the time. And the thing that he said that really, it hurt me, but I don't know how to describe how I felt from hearing my son say this. But he said, Mom, I think about all the time how I have to be extra careful My mama can't lose me. I'm all she's got left. Now that just tore me up. That tore me up even worse. I had just started to calm down before he said that, and it just tore me apart. And I, of course, didn't think of how my being frantic on the phone was going to make him feel on the other end. I just wanted to make sure he was okay. And he kept apologizing to me, and I told him it wasn't his fault. But he said, Mom, I understand. I understand the anxiety. I understand you freaking out, because when I heard your voice, I was freaking out thinking something happened to my little brother. So it's weird, the things that you don't realize happen as a result of grief, as a result of dealing with tragedies, as a result of having gone through what you may feel or have felt is the worst year, worst time of your life. Because I definitely feel like this is the worst thing that I've had to deal with in losing my son. But I'm still trying to be positive. I'm still trying to, go through life with a positive outlook somehow. I mean, I miss him every day. I'm speaking to him every day. I have pictures like this all over my house, but I'm still trying to move forward. And I feel like sometimes when I have to deal with the emotions, like it's a step backwards. But I can't feel that way because the emotions are going to be there. It's not going to be perfect. There's not going to be a day that I can just say, my son's not here, but it's all right. I'm just going to move forward. It's not going to happen. I wish it could, simply for not having to deal with the emotions. But again, I have no control over it. I have no control over any of this. I have tried to accept it. I can say I've accepted it, but I wouldn't be telling the truth, because I still want to go back. I still want to make sure he went home that night. I still want to say something to him that would have made him not go to that party or something. But the fact of the matter is, I have no control. That's probably the hardest thing to accept, because I'm that person who has always tried to be in control. I've tried to have things planned. I try to have everything laid out so I know exactly what comes next. And, well, if this happens, then here's what I'll do, and have A, B, and C plan. But plan D, I wasn't ready for. That was the furthest thing from my mind. We had years planned. We had trips planned. We had so much that we were going to do. He would have turned 25 this year. There was so much that we were going to do even for his birthday. And everything that we thought we had control of, it all changed in an instant. And I'm always the person who tells people, the saying that I go by is, the only thing that's consistent is change. So I'm always prepared for the change. I may think it's going to go this way. It's going to go that way. It's just a change. Let's adjust. But this change, it's not that easy. It's not that easy. I just realized it's been almost a year. My son passed away July of last year. It's now May. It doesn't seem like 10 months has passed. Doesn't seem like 10 days has passed. It's still fresh. It's still in the forefront. I hate feeling like I have to ignore it, but there's no other way for me to move forward. There's no other way for me to live. If I don't try to ignore the pain of it, I will die right with him. And I'm trying to stick around. I do still have family here. And then I feel guilty because my son's not here. Should I be focusing more on the fact that my son's not here? To hell with the people who are here. My baby's not here. And it becomes this conflict in my mind. What are you trying to forget about your son? You trying to forget that he was here, that he existed? Of course not. So it's a balance that I'm still trying to find. How do I move forward with my life and be happy? Because I want to be happy, but still have the devastation of grief also in the forefront of my mind. It's a daily struggle. It's a daily fight. It can be a daily argument. Today wasn't the best day for me, and I have no clue why. Maybe because it was a little gloomy outside today. Yesterday was beautiful, sunny, but this morning I just woke up in a funk. I start work at 7:30 in the morning. By the time I start work, I had cried 4 times already. Nothing was said, nothing was done that, it doesn't always have to be a trigger. It's just the reality. How do you flip a switch? Because that's what you have to do. You deal with the emotion of it, you let it out, and then you have to basically clean yourself up, dust yourself off, like I've been saying. Flip that switch to, okay, now I'm in work mode. And try to forget what just happened 15 minutes ago. I have a meeting every morning with my team, and we talk about our tasks for the day. Just before that meeting, I was emotional. I had anxiety, and I just started to tell them in the meeting, you know what? I'm just going to take the day. I'm just going to take the day off. But in my head, I'm like, you've got too much you need to do. If you don't do it today, it's going to pile up, and you got to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow's Friday. Then you'll be thinking about the stuff you didn't get done all weekend. Nah, we're not going to do that. Our meeting started. My boss said something that made us all laugh, and I pushed it to the back. Flip that switch. The thing is, anything throughout the day can flip it right back. It's not about being phony, but it's necessary. It's crazy. I literally don't know sometimes how I do it. And I know people, oh, you're one of the strongest women I know. And I appreciate the compliment. But even the people who are strong, the people who are the rock for everyone else, they still have emotions. They still have pain. They may mask it. And I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty good at masking it. But that doesn't mean that they don't go through things. That doesn't mean that things don't hurt them. That doesn't mean the things that they don't allow you to see has caused them pain are not causing them pain. It's just not something for you to see. I had someone come to me after seeing one of my episodes where I talked about, not always asking me, are you okay? Or saying, how I feel. And they were like, I feel bad now. I don't know what to say to you. I'm not saying not to be there. I'm just saying be thoughtful. Be mindful of the things that you say. Because I know how you feel is kind of cliche. Because you really don't. That's all. It's not a problem to make sure that someone is okay. It's not a problem to check on someone, because somebody like me, I'm not one of those cry for help kind of people. So it may take a couple of times for me to even tell you how I'm actually feeling. How you doing, Tanya? I'm doing all right. I'm good. I'm making it as well as can be expected. I'm probably not even doing that well, but that's the phrases that Everyone says, right? That's the phrases that'll make people just say, oh, okay, she's fine, and leave you alone. So that's what I throw out there. And no, I'm not saying you got to ask me 100 times. I'm just saying there's a balance. And I know it's weird to say it that way because it's like, first you said don't mess with you. Now you're saying, oh, go ahead and try. All I'm saying is be genuine. Be genuine. I'll tell you how I can tell when someone's not genuine. And it's hilarious to me how often this happens. I run into somebody, hey, Tanya, how you doing? I'm good. How you doing? All right, and you? Now, wait, you just asked me how I was doing. I said I was fine and asked you how you were. You come back with that cliche response, all right, and you? You just asked me again. Are we going to keep going back and forth? Like, I'm just saying. If you didn't care how I was feeling, don't ask me. Just say, hey, I'm cool with that. I am not that person who be walking like, she going to say hi and not ask me how I'm doing like she don't know what I'm going through. You don't have to. I also know it's awkward to say, how you doing? Because you never know the response you get. Because I know some people, you say, hey, how you doing, girl? My back hurting. Ooh, my child getting on my nerves. My husband, I think we about to head for divorce. You asked how they were doing. So if you're going to ask me, be genuine when you ask me. But I may be genuine and say, I'm all right. It may not be the time that I can come to you and give you the flood of what I'm dealing with. Or I'm at a point where if I start to tell you what's going on with me or how I'm really doing, those damn emotions. So don't take it personally that I say you ain't got to always try to sympathize. There's a difference with sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is feeling sorry for someone, in my opinion. Empathy is understanding that that person is going through something and, wanting to be there for them. And that's fine. But please don't be cliche. Because you catch me on the right day, I might call you out on it. And if you know me, I could be sarcastic to the point where I done called you out and walked away, and then you realize, wait a minute, did she just... It's a gift. I promise you it is. And I've mastered it. But, I'm trying. I really am. And I think I'm doing okay. I've never had so many hugs in my life, and I've never been a big hug everybody person. But I take it because I can tell now in those hugs. You could tell when it's that church hug, hey, or when someone is genuinely just hugging you to be supportive. And I appreciate every single one of them. I really do. So, I guess you just got to feel me out if you're somebody who sees me on the street. And I think that's probably the case for a lot of people who are dealing with grief. There's so much going on, not just in my life, in the town where I live. There's young men, so many young men and women dealing with being shot, being killed. And I blew up a little bit recently and on a show that I'm on, in a conversation related to a situation in our town that, depending on whose side you're on, was a racist situation, presumably, allegedly. I guess that's the better word to use, allegedly. As the saying goes, there's three sides to every story. Their side, your side, and the truth. I'm not here to decide what's the truth or what's not. My issue was so many people were sharing this incident on social media, and they had so many comments and the outrage, and went as far as to start posting pictures of the people that they thought were involved, and people said that that wasn't even who was involved, and there was just so much happening towards this business, and people were turning on them. And like I said, if you have an issue with that business, then you don't give them your money. But malicious things like calling, and it was a restaurant, calling and placing a large order but not picking it up, that's uncalled for. But my issue with all of it was, we are so outraged at this alleged activity. And as a disclaimer, racism is unacceptable. If that's what happened, it's absolutely unacceptable. And I wouldn't blame someone for not taking their money to a restaurant where the owners, express something of that nature. That's not my point. My point is, there are young men being killed in this city, in Chicago, in other cities. And it seems like every time I see one of these stories, there's no suspect, no description, no one in custody. And I now, more than ever, I used to empathize with these mothers. Now I know the devastation. I don't know how they feel, but I know it ain't easy. So why, in those situations, where's the outrage there? Where's the outrage over these young men killing each other? Not just, someone being killed, shooting each other. Where's the outrage over the violence that we have? Yeah, you'll see y'all took a real one, and you hurt the whole city with this one, and that may be the case. They may have known many people. That's fine. But where's the outrage to the point where you're doing like you're doing for these situations with these business owners? As many people as were at that party where my son was shot, as many videos as there was of the situation up to, nobody could come forth. No, we ain't snitching in that situation. But let's attack these business owners that we don't even know the full story and blast them and hurt them, and then go as far as to threaten them and their families. If it was flipped, how would we feel if we were in that situation? Somebody posted something about us that was not the full truth. Again, allegedly, because I wasn't there. I don't know what happened, but I saw different takes from different sides of the coin. Now, neither of them, I'm sure, I'm sorry, is 100% the truth. That's those three sides. But us on the outside, we'll never know. So is it fair to go as far as threatening these people's families? I don't believe so. And maybe I'm on an island by myself, but I don't believe so. I don't agree with that. I don't have an issue with a business to go as far as to hurt a family. Whatever the issue is. Guess what? I do not have to patronize your business. And that's it. I don't have to speak out on something that I know nothing about. I'm talking about the situation, not racism. Again, if it's a business owner in an area where your customer base is predominantly black and you're making racist comments, shame on you. And you won't get my money. But I won't threaten your family. Even in the situation of my son being shot, if the suspect was caught, I'm not going to go and threaten his family. That's not me. It doesn't make sense because that's just more senseless violence and more people having to go through pain and more grief and more. It's a vicious cycle. Where does it end? Where does the cycle of all of these young men being killed end? Can we say it's gun control? No, it's people control. There's people with guns that's not just going out killing people. And in this day and age, unfortunately, it's too much going on. If you can legally own a gun and be responsible, then that's what you do. But that's not the situation here. This is irresponsibility. I just wish I would see the outrage that I saw and have seen with our community over other things be turned towards us losing our children, preventing losing our children. But I'm just one person. Again, it's beyond my control. But I do have a voice, and I plan to use it. Hence, we are mighty. And if you have a voice, which you do, and you want to use it, use it. Don't be afraid. But if you are, I have no problem speaking for you. As always, in all you do, be true to yourself. Be strong and be mighty. We are here every other Friday. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can see us face to face on Spotify and YouTube. If you'd like to join us to be a guest, please email us at wearemighty24@gmail.com. I love y'all and ain't nothing you can do about it.
They won't stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no. They won't stop me now, they won't stop me now, they won't stop me, no.